Alrighty guys, as the kid bringing us into the Dragon Ball Legends TOP guide video on guide number 7 for season 7, right? So last season for season 6 we were able to go ahead and reach 470. That was with the androids team, which is probably like one of my most comfortable teams. For this season we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So that being said, let's go ahead and head right into the top 5 teams. Alright, so the first team that I want to go ahead and talk about is the Minion Squad, the Namek Saga Squad, the Pull Force, whatever you want to go ahead and call them. You can see on the right hand side of the screen, I have the rank number 3 player who's using the exact same team as me. And the first thing I want to go ahead and point out is this is a completely free to play team. I think that's like one of the most important parts, or at least my favorite parts of this team. Every single unit you can see right here is farmable, is free to play. You don't have to spend any CC at all. The only thing is that the Pull Force themselves are pretty they cost a lot in terms of resources, right? In terms of energy. So I don't expect every single one of you guys to actually have these guys at 14 stars, but I think it's very important to note. So that being said, let's go ahead and dissect this team and start off by saying a Pull, Ginyu, and EX Frieza are all your support. So you can see right here, every single one of those units that I just named they have like this ability to support the tag Frieza Force itself. It's either Frieza Force, Ginyu Force, or Minions. And pretty much they all fall into that, besides the Ultra Vegeta that we have, right? So all of them have like this. At the start of the battle, allied tag Frieza Force gets a 20% to damage inflicted. We can take a look at a Pull's ability right here too. He basically has a very similar effect. At the end of turn, Frieza Force or tag minions get a 10% to damage inflicted or critical rate, or both of them actually. And then Ginyu, I think he gives key recovery to Ginyu Force and Frieza Force, right? So you can, yes, right here, so at the end of the turn, allied tag Ginyu Force or Frieza Force, 15% to damage inflicted, as well as key recovery. And that's very, very important. Key recovery is very important in this game mode. So not only are you getting all those buffs, but you have your boy Nabana right here providing some debuffs to the enemy board on these 4 specific squares right here, where he inflicts the attribute downgrade plus 15% to damage received, as well as another 15% to damage received at the start of the second turn, which is pretty good. Alright, so now getting into the defensive side of things, where your defenses pretty much lie is with this Rowberry, right? So the Rowberry, he's able to go ahead and he has a cover change for the column directly behind him. So once an ally gets below 30% or anything like that, he's about to get hit with a strike card, this guy will come in, he'll save him, as well as giving himself a damage cut as well, right? Minus 40% to damage received. And on top of that, this guy heals himself, so he's very, very valuable in this. He gets 3% to health, he restores 3% health at the start of turn, every single turn, right? So that's pretty nice. Now, speaking of cover rescues and cover changes, this Ultra Vegeta has the same effect. He's not necessarily going to be buffing everyone in sight, but he does have a pretty wide range of that cover rescue. Like, look at the amount of squares that he covers right here. Not necessarily better than, say, like LF Frieza, but this guy still gets the job done in that aspect. He also builds his blue card pretty quickly, right? So you can see right here at the start of the second turn, he gets 30% to next special move damage inflicted, but after that, he gets 50% to special move gauge. So you're basically going to be popping blue cards with this guy pretty frequently, as long as you have him in the field, right? As long as he's getting some playtime. His Ultra ability is pretty nice, as well as it does rely on Frieza Saga teammates, and pretty much we fulfill that condition, right? So that being said, before we move on, every single one of these units are in tier 1. So you're going to see these guys all over the leaderboard. Alright, for the next team we have right here is going to be hybrids. And before I show you the leaderboard for this season, we're going to take it back to season 5 and look at the number 1 player in that season. So this is basically where I saw this team first come from. So pay attention to the right hand side. We have Android 18 on the team, and a lot of people might be looking at this and be like, why? Like, that's so out of place. But Red 18 is like one of like the core, like, she is an amazing healer. First of all, right, she heals every single turn for, I think it's like 3% or something like that, to the diagonals to the left and to the right, and herself. Paired with that Gohan right here, that blue Gohan, it makes for an amazing, amazing team, right? So now let's bring it back to this current season, and you can see on the leaderboard, we have the rank number 2 player right here, the GOAT. And you know, this is why this Gohan right here is an absolute menace, right, in terms of TOP. So we can look at him. He just got his Zenkai, right? He was good before his Zenkai, and now he is even better. So one of the best abilities that I like about him is that he has the same ability that Topo has. He applies the buff effect. Enemies focus on this character for 1 turn. And to couple with that, not only does he have a 30% damage cut right here, he also gets another damage cut right here, and this increases once he does get the Zenkai, right? But there is a catch to this first unique ability, so you do want 3 Sun family units on there to actually get this ability, right? This only activates as long as there are at least 3 allied Sun family members remaining, so you do want as much damage cut as you can with this unit. And like I was saying with Red Android 18, how she is a little bit weird here, being in here, but it completely makes sense. So like I said, she has an indiscriminate heal, which for all allies in range restores health by 3% every single turn, as well as giving them a damage buff too. And so the reason why you have her specifically placed where she is because presumably that Gohan is going to be taking all the attacks for that first turn, right? That blue Gohan. And so you have this 18 right in that diagonal spot, in that sweet spot, to go ahead and constantly keep healing that Gohan, because he's going to be taking all those hits at first, right? So the one thing that I do want to note is probably beware of green units. If there's a million green units on the enemy team, then I would suggest benching that Gohan, that blue Gohan. And if you bench that blue Gohan, you might want to consider benching this Android 18, because she might be taking a whole lot of damage after that. Alright, so next we have support. So you can see right here, this Goten is probably like one of the GOATs in terms of support. You have this guy, you have the transforming Trunks, and you actually have the L of Goten, who all provide support. This guy having, I feel like he's the most influential, the most impactful support unit that you have on the team, because he can heal himself. He provides support buffs to the diagonals, right? Just like Red 18, right? But he also gets a blue card, right? At the start of the second turn, he gets 100% to special move gauge. So this team is going to be doing a lot of damage. You have a lot of support coming out right here. I definitely do think this is going to be one of the top teams easily. And then you also have this Revival Gohan, man. Like, you just have a really stacked hybrids team overall if you have this guy, right? So not only is he a Revival unit, he's going to be valuable just by that itself, but he also has support capabilities where he can also heal. So you have a spare healer right here. And if you need it, absolutely, go ahead and run him as a double healer. You can go ahead and place him right there in that slot instead of Goten, and you're going to be getting heals with him. You're going to be getting heals with Android 18. Like, you're going to be living the life right here, man. And like I said, he also gives a 30% to special move gauge charge rate for 2 turns, as well as giving a damage buff. Very, very solid unit overall. I would say above solid. Now, as for the Kid Trunks, I would probably replace him. More than likely, I would probably replace that Kid Trunks with this guy, because I don't think the Kid Trunks is all that. I think he's very, very squishy as compared to this guy right here. Although his Z ability won't be as good, I definitely do think this guy might be the better option here. But other than that, all of these units are tier 1 besides that Revival Gohan, so you're going to see a massive amount of score points. Alright, for the next team that we're going to be talking about is LOE. So the only unit that I don't really have on this team, besides the Zenkais, I guess, is this L of Frieza. So let's go ahead and talk about him real quick. So this L of Frieza, he actually has some pretty good abilities in terms of his ToP kit, right? I don't think they're as good as the Sparking Final Form Frieza, but they're still good nonetheless, right? He provides debuffs and stuff like that. He also has a pretty good cover change, right? To ahead of him, below him, to the left, and to the right of him, as well as being able to go ahead and activate his green card at the start of the second turn, effectively giving himself a 25% to his own special move gauge, and he can possibly heal himself by 8% once he gets below the 60% HP threshold. Other than that, we do have a lot of support coming out, not only from the Final Form Cooler, but from the LF Frieza, and as well as the Red Zenkai Metal Cooler providing debuffs for you as well. And specifically, this LF Frieza having just a full board cover change is absolutely massive. I don't know if there's any other unit in the game that actually has a full board cover change, so anyone that's low in health is going to be covered by this guy right here, right? And so at the start of this, the first time, he also inflicts can't attack for 1 turn, so he provides some stuff against the enemy board that's going to help you out as well. And like I said, the support is coming out right here. You can see right here, to the left, to the right, and to the diagonals above him, he's going to be able to support as well. 20% to damage inflicted by allies in range for 1 turn. So now let's go ahead and talk about this guy. This guy is pretty much like one of the best LOE units, I definitely do feel like, because he can farm blue cards. So before receiving a blast card, our Blast Arts attack, he basically nullifies it, deflects it, and it gives him 100% to his special move gauge, and he's also going to effectively increase his next special move damage inflicted. He also has the ability to heal himself once he hits below 50% HP. And so now both metal coolers have the ability to heal themselves, both this guy and the red one. I am particularly fond of this green metal cooler. I think he's extremely durable. I do not have the red one at a Zenkai level, so I'm not too sure what the level of his durability is, but I'm sure it's still pretty damn good, right? Especially considering he has the Zenkai stats and he does have healing within his own kit. Now, I don't think this Frieza is too noteworthy. I don't think he's that great, but I guess he's worth running for the Z ability at maximum amount of stars, right? Because once he does reach that maximum amount, he gets a bunch of buffs right here. And you know, this guy right here on the screen, he does have him at 14 stars, so I suppose why not? So that being said, this team will be a mixture of tier 1 and tier 2 units, where the green cooler is residing in tier 2. Alright, for the next team that I have is going to be a safety pick. It's going to be Regeneration. Regeneration has never failed to make this list, and I don't think it ever will fail to make this list, because it's just like one of those teams that does not get old in this game mode, bro. Like, you will always see them. So that being said, Baby is going to be your #1 like unit right here. This is who you have to protect at all costs, because this is going to be your designated healer, right? And so this is where you have to pay attention to the blocks, right? When you look at their unique abilities, look at what blocks they're covering. So to the left and to the right of him, he is going to be healing a substantial amount. He restores health by 3%, as well as giving 30% to health restoration for 2 turns. And as for the next 2 units, or basically your damage dealers, you have Bootanks and the LF Zenkai Piccolo. So first of all, the Bootanks right here, he's able to get a blue card on the very first turn. So at the start of turn, he does get 100% to special move gauge, as well as getting 30% to damage inflicted. So you have the potential to just straight up snipe a red unit when that ability is going to pair well, or extremely well, with your yellow units. And like I said, Bootanks does pair with the yellow units, right? Because he's able to go ahead and cover this guy, right? His weakness, which is the red units. And not only that, he is going to be able to get his blue card as well at the start of the 3rd turn. He gets 100% to special move gauge, as well as 40% to next special move damage inflicted. Now, I don't necessarily recommend running this guy without the Zenkai. I've done it in the past, and he's done decently, right? Like, he just barely made the cut, but he's going to be a lot more effective at that Zenkai level. So now we have Kamikolo. So Kamikolo, I don't think he's all that great. Like, he just recently got his Zenkai, but I don't think this kit is all that. I mean, unless you're going against a lot of androids or a lot of future, I'm not too sure how valuable this guy is going to be, but I could be wrong, right? This is just at a first glance. He does have those Zenkai stats, depending on if you have him like fully Zenkai'd or not. But I think the most notable thing about him, like one of the best things about him, is that he does have the Zenkai ability that buffs blue and regeneration, which is effectively going to be your Baby, it's going to be your Bootanks, and it's going to be whatever blue unit you bring in. Like, this guy has Kid Buu right there, right? And so similarly to the Kamikolo, this guy basically provides the same thing. He's going to be Zenkai buffing the already Zenkai'd LF Piccolo, but not only that, he does it a little bit better because of the fact that he does restore health by 2% and also inflicts poison for 1 turn on whoever he hits. And so as for Kid Buu, although I do not have him, he does have a pretty solid ToP kit, right? So he has the ability to heal himself, right? And so he right here, so restores health by 10% at the start of the 2nd turn, giving himself buffs and stuff like that. He provides debuffs to the enemy team, and he also gets a self buff against tag Saiyans, which is not bad at all. And if you guys are still worried about this team, about it performing well, if you're going to die or not, I would always just go ahead and say dip into tier 3, just pick up that fat Buu right there. I only have him at Zenkai 3, but even when I've used regeneration, man, like, he's done absolutely amazing in terms of tanking, in terms of providing those heals. Like, he will 100% come through for you. So that being said, this team is going to be a mixture of tier 1, 2, and possibly 3 if you do decide to run that fat Buu. Alright, so the last team that I have for you guys right here is going to be Saiyans. So, again, this is going to be another safety pick. I imagine a lot of you guys do have some decently stacked Saiyans team, right? Because Saiyans is definitely one of the most popular tags. It's probably one of the most... I'm pretty sure Saiyans has the most units. So starting off, we have this Angel Vegeta, someone that I always talk about. You don't need to really have amazing board placement with him, right? He doesn't have to be anywhere particular in order to go ahead and give his heal. He gives it to every single person on the board. He restores health by 3%, as well as giving 25% to damage inflicted and canceling attribute downgrades at the start of the 3rd turn, right? You have to keep that in mind. He only does it once per fight. But regardless of that, even though it's only once a fight, it's still incredibly valuable. So we also have this Ultra Vegeta who we already touched upon earlier in the video, but like we said, he has that cover change, right? He has a pretty massive cover change as well, and then he also has the ability to farm blue cards pretty easily, 50% to special move gauge. The only thing that he lacks on the Saiyans team itself is that he's not getting all these Frieza Saga buffs, right? Because you don't have a whole lot of Frieza Saga units on here. So this guy's also using Fiku, and I'm actually a fan of this unit. I think he's actually pretty good, so we can look at his abilities. He does have some strange stuff going on right here, but more importantly, it's his second unique that I like a lot, is that once he does receive an attack, he restores his own health by 5%. He also gives a 5% damage buff to allies in range, which is not substantial, right? 5% isn't like a make it or break it thing, but he also provides a debuff to the enemy where he gives them 20% to damage received. And so the buffs and everything are going to add up, because you also have this Raditz, who I actually think is really underrated on the Saiyans ToP team. I don't see a whole lot of people running him on ToP enough, I feel like, because not only is his Z ability really good, right? 18% to tag Saiyan max base health, which is very important. I think max base health is a very important stat to have. But he also has this buff to just Saiyans in general, where 30% to blast damage inflicted by all Saiyans. I feel like if you're running a blast-based Saiyans team, that's going to be extremely valuable. So next we have this full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Well, once again, I don't think he's too noteworthy, but on this particular setup, he actually might be extremely good. He does have a lot of self buffs. I do believe he puts debuffs on the enemy as well. I'm not too sure, but yeah, he does. So, but basically what he does on this setup right here that we have on the right hand side of the screen is Fiku is giving buffs, right? He's giving debuffs to the enemy as well. Angel Vegeta is giving buffs, and then that Raditz is giving blast buffs in particular. So this guy actually might be hitting extremely hard here. But if you guys are still unsure of him, definitely this guy is always an option if you do have him at high stars. He's in the same tier as the full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku, which is tier 2. As for the rest of the units, I do think they can be easily replaced. Like, he does have the Zenkai Goku right there, and I'm pretty sure the main reason why he has that Zenkai Namek Saga Goku there is for the Ultra Vegeta, right? So you can get some more buffs out of that Ultra Vegeta. Same with the Scouter Vegeta. I think both of them can easily be replaced, but I can see where he's going with. He wants them to buff the Frieza Saga, the Ultra Vegeta, right? But if you do want to replace them, you have Ultra Goku right here in tier 2. You have the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta possibly, if you do have him Zenkai'd. And even in tier 1, I do believe you have this Bardock right here. Yes, this red Bardock, who's actually pretty solid. He can heal himself as well, although his Z ability is a little bit lacking, right? It's just 30% to tag Saiyan based strike attack. Singular buff, right? Unless they're Team Bardock as well. And as for a purple unit, obviously you can go back into tier 2, and instead of running the Scouter Vegeta, maybe you do have the Super Saiyan 3 Goku Zenkai 7 or something like that. He's going to have a much better Z ability, a much better kit. And as for this Broly, I also think this guy is extremely I think he's extremely bad. Like, no joke. I think the only reason why this guy has him on there is because he is tier 1, and once you do have him at maximum stars, he does have a decent Z ability, I suppose. So 28% to tag Sagas or Saiyan based strike and blast defense, right? So I think that's pretty much the only reason why he has him on there, to be a little bit more defensive as well as bringing in another tier 1 units. So he could easily be replaced as well. So, like I said, if you guys do need to dip into tier 3, definitely feel free to do so. Look at the units that you have in tier 3. They're pretty good. You have both of the LF Zenkais right here with the Namek Goku and with the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, all that good stuff. And I would even say this guy is a worthy mention, right? Because although he does have a pretty poor Z ability, which is only to purple or resurrected Frieza Saga, right? But he does have this ability right here, where at the end of the second turn, allies in range, he restores their health by 2%, as well as giving them a 20% to damage inflicted for 2 turns. And so, thus, in turn, you're going to be able to run 2 healers possibly, right? I think that's really good. Alright, so that being said, that's going to basically wrap it up for all my teams that I have for you guys. An honorable mention that I did want to throw out there is GT. I'm not necessarily going to make one of these teams. I don't really recommend this team. I think they have a lot of good units, but it's just the fact that they get shafted in other aspects, right? Like, they just got the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who is decent in ToP, but the Oob is someone that I feel like is a little bit more important. I don't have the Oob, but I know his ToP kit is pretty good. And then most of their good units are in tier 2, right? But it's still not a lot. But you have Baby in here. You have the Super Saiyan 4 Goku. the full power one, the Vegeta and the Super 17, as well as Omega. But then you get into tier 3, and that's where Super Saiyan 4 Goku is at, which is very unfortunate. And then in tier 4, you have Gogeta, which is that sucks. I don't know why they always put these guys in tier 4s, stuff like that. But that being said, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for today's video for this TOP guide. If you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed the content, definitely let me know by leaving a like, a comment, or maybe even consider hitting that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later!